Morning.
Hi,
How you doing?
I'm fine. How about you?
Doing all right.
Good. I'm gonna make you um a co-host.
Thank you. Yep.
Um, Okay. And I'm gonna make Penny a co-host. I was able to start the meeting.
Good.
And I'm gonna make Penny a co-host and I can hear you just fine. But just in case we run into trouble. Okay.
Okay. I don't recognize who John is, Jon. Could you please identify yourself so that we know who you are for the minutes? I'll wait a few minutes, but otherwise, I need to know.
Hi, hi, Elaine. It's Amanda. It's my husband, John Lawless. I think he's having trouble with his microphone. He's just got his
Okay.
new one. Oh, there
Thank
he is.
you. Thank
Okay.
you. Got it.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Hmm. Marianne, I have to say, we picked the best times to go out to that
I
property
know.
and walk around.
Oh, um, you know, the weather in New England is unpredictable. So,
And we were tromping around yesterday, and Brad is tromping around today.
yeah. Uh, what's the weather like today?
It's warmer. Yeah,
Okay. And
it's
is it precipitating?
not now. It was raining last night.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Snow on the weekend.
Okay, we have one, two, three, four, five. I know that Molly is not going to be able to be here. But I did not hear, oh, Brad might not be able to be here either. Um, hmm. Is Jeff still in Costa Rica and not?
Yes. Yeah.
All right,
You're
so
still in
we have
Costa Rica.
you and Stephen. Brad should be here soon. Penny, myself. So that's four, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Um, okay, we have four of us. I guess we need to wait for Brad, don't we?
Yeah. Let's see. So Molly's not able to be here. Jeff is away. Oh,
Right.
Dale.
Dale
I'll
said that
text
he was
Dale. Oh,
possibly not going to be able to make it.
okay.
And I know that Brad was going out to the property at 11, but
Okay.
he thought for sure he'd be back in time.
Okay.
Let me check in with him.
Okay.
Oh, Brad, heading home from the site tour with Cushing, I'll be a little late. That was 2 minutes ago.
Okay. Okay.
So he
We can
shouldn't be
wait
too
for him.
far. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll wait for him.
Okay. Um,
Roger, was Neil going to be able to make it?
Neil will join in. I
Okay.
think he was hoping his other meeting would end time, but he'll join in
I
as he
really
gets out of that
apologize
one.
to everyone, but having to reschedule.
Did you get your town meeting in?
Oh, we did.
Did
It wasn't pretty, but it was we
what?
got
Oh,
it
yeah.
in. Yeah. Yeah, it was a pretty, I don't know. My opinion was it was a fairly hostile town meeting situation. It wasn't a very comfortable feeling.
No.
But that's sometimes what happens at town meeting.
And anything can happen.
Mm-hmm.
Dominic, do you need me to make you a co-host? Are you gonna
Yes,
be
please.
when we
Yes,
get to the
please.
point?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah. Matt
Okay.
Matt should be joining as well. He might be a
Okay.
little late, but we should get
Okay.
started.
okay.
Yeah.
Dale Hool is on his way too. I just got a text from him. So we need one more building committee member before we have a quorum, Dominic. So
No
that's what-
problem. Understood. Yep.
Yep.
The only caveat is I've got a hard stop at 1:15. I really have to be
Okay.
out the door. So
Okay, so why don't we put all of your things first? We'll review and our meeting minutes and everything after.
no problem. Thank you. I've got to get up to Gloucester for a committee meeting, for a community meeting. Sorry. So
No problem. No
not a problem.
problem.
Thanks.
Okay, so right, we'll put the meeting minutes and the NOI after we talk with you. Weather been good, Marianne?
It's hot. It's
Oh, I'm so
it-
sorry.
yeah. So
All right, Dale is here.
Okay,
So let's
good.
call the meeting to order at 12:04. Do we have public comment? Amanda?
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Elaine.
Mhm.
Here I am again with my two questions. So at the NOI, I think Mr. Dominic Witt might recall that I had a question that he thought he could answer at the next LBC meeting. It's about the 7,220 or 7,225 square foot proposal mentioned in the NOI. He thought he could bring some additional color to that here. And then I have another question about roofs after that. So do you have anything for me?
I do actually. Thanks, Amanda. And that question is also going to be a part of our response or resubmission to the Conservation Commission. So to clarify your question, so the discrepancy between the roof square footages has to do with the fact that civil engineers and their work for the site plans, they refer to the building incorporating the full roof area as in what they need to do for their stormwater calculations. So that's the impervious surface. They use the roof area. For the original schematic design, we had a building that was around 6,000 square feet, but it also included an outdoor area, which was covered by the same roof as the building. And then there was an eave as well, overhang. So that's where that larger square footage area was quoted in our NOI submission, because we were comparing the original schematic design with where we are today. And so in the architectural drawings in our presentations to you as a group and the committee, we have been referring to the building footprint. So that's a smaller area than the roof area. And that's the discrepancy. So civil engineers refer to the roof and we refer to the building.
Okay, because I did notice that, you did say 7,200 square feet about a building footprint, but then you said roof after that. So I was a little confused, but
apologies if there was some confusion there. I was referring, the 7,000 is definitely the roof. So I may have been misquoted.
Okay, well, okay, so
Yep.
that you're gonna fix that, are you saying, in the NOI
Yes,
or?
so we've already got a response to Conservation Commission.
Okay.
Yep, specific to that question.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll be
Yep.
there, so I'll see what that is.
No
Okay,
problem.
the second question, you can probably answer this as well. I've asked it before about the mass building code that references the square footage of the roof per sprinkler requirement threshold. And I found a presentation from the 20th of June.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a note there that says per mass code, roof area determines sprinkler requirement threshold. I've never heard back about which code this is, chapter and verse. All I could find was, mass more than 7,500 gross square feet and floor area shall be protected. That's part one, title 20, chapter 148, section 26G. So I don't think that's what you're referring to, though, is it?
Let me get back to you on that. I apologize if there was an outstanding question for that, to clarify that specifically. I am very happy to get that information to you. So I'll get you the specific code that states exactly that requirement. I don't have that on the top of my head.
I don't know that either, but one clarification I can make is that the 7,500 square foot versus 5,000 square foot thresholds, the 5,000 square feet is for an assembly occupancy building. So it's different for different types of buildings, but that's the maximum. This is an assembly occupancy building. That's the maximum square footage allowable before it triggers fire protection.
Which one? The 7,500 or
5,000 square feet.
And Matt,
7,500 would be for a different type.
Okay,
that 5,000 is for the building code.
That's right.
Okay, well, I still couldn't find it. So, if you could send it to me, I can, I do have Matt Uden's email, but should I also have Dominic's? Maybe
No, I think that you can go through the building committee with that. I'll send it to you. If you folks would send it to me, I'll send it to Amanda.
Yep,
okay.
Absolutely, I can do that.
Okay,
All right.
great.
Thanks a
Any
lot.
other comments?
Oops, let me take my hand down. Thank you.
Okay, let's move along right away because I know, Dominic, we're have precious time with you. Let's talk about the construction documents and updates on that.
Thank you, Elaine. So I'll present my screen. Let's see here. Okay. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, so I just wanted to go through and give you some updates on CD phase developments, some VE items, some roof detailing things that we've been working on. We've also developed a life cycle cost analysis, so we'll go over that. And then I'll touch on plumbing coordination related to the code requirements. So with the CD phase, we've been continuing to develop exterior details. That's been the bulk of our work for Odinzello, but we've also engaged all our consultants. So all consultants have been met and released into CD phase. So they're all progressing their drawings. Civil and landscape are coordinating with VE items, and we are also still engaged with Conservation Commission review. So there's been developments there. With mechanical, they're fine-tuning their systems with more coordination specific to intake, exhaust and intake air, how the mechanical handling condensing units on the exterior are going to be laid out and fed to the building, and additional items there as well. We met with our acoustic consultants, and we're continuing to lock down requirements there. Same for lighting consultants, and structural as well. So CD phase is definitely in motion and full steam ahead. I will continue in the upcoming meetings as there's specific questions and review items for you in the group. I'm going to introduce you to those as we go through. So looking at VE, so going to the next slide, I had presented to you previously as a group a bunch of items that were approved to be targeted for value engineering. This is the list here where we were able to get, our target down to we were able to VE 300,000 and get basically down $285,000. I wanted to highlight here to the right, there were a couple of items outstanding. So replacing the concrete sidewalks with bituminous paving. My estimates were very close, so we managed to confirm that item here. There was a double dip on plywood, initially an estimated square footage cost. That was confirmed. So we actually saw a little bit of savings here with this number. And then we investigated retroplate concrete finish for the entry lobby and circulation space. We were able to see $28,000 savings there if we go with that. So we've rolled those back in. And I wanted to just highlight that to say, being released into CDs and going through CDs, we're going to continue to investigate cost-saving measures, some of which are, the acoustic ceiling treatments. We've been discussing with our acoustic consultants alternatives for acoustic drywall, which we will continue to do and we'll review with you. So, and as well with mechanical. So our mechanical engineers are looking to, for the transformer, they're going to swap out aluminum windings instead of copper. So these cost-saving measures we are not evaluating until the 75% pricing set. But our mechanical engineers are also spearheading value engineering strategies, that being one. So by swapping to aluminum, the size of our transformer for this project, the difference between aluminum windings and copper is an efficiency question. And because of the small size of our transformer, the efficiency to use copper is not really warranted. So our mechanical engineers are very comfortable to swap to aluminum. We don't really see a great efficiency there, required. So they're happy to make that transition. They're also looking at changing electrical conduit in plenum spaces. So we actually own electrical metallic conduit, which is nicer, but we can change that to metal clad, it looks like a perforated pipe. And that's just a very simple cost savings measure. So we decided to focus on that as well. The HVAC equipment produces condensate. Now we own that condensate be collected and be diverted to stormwater. But there's a cheaper way to do that, and that's to collect and just distribute to the exterior of the building. So we're coordinating where we're going to do that. In non-trafficked areas, it can be discreet, and that's a cost savings measure as well. We're just reducing infrastructure. And then the last mechanical is to separate the ventilation and heating and cooling control systems as independent panels. So it's actually more expensive to consolidate the controls panel for both of them. So that's a question to to the library and the user facilities person, you can still control both systems, right? We have two systems. One's ventilation and the other is heating and cooling. If we make independent controls for those, we save some money. Dale, I see your hand up.
Yes. I just want to make a note that in this area, we generally do not run condensate pump water to the exterior, mainly because of freeze-up problems. So I would suggest a strategy where we can do something interior because for sure it will freeze.
Yep, that's a very good point, Dale. And I know our engineers are aware of that. And I definitely haven't investigated the full infrastructure or, what their thinking was to do that. But if they agree and warrant that it should go inside, maybe there's something in the janitor's closet that we could bring it down into the mop sink or something. So that's a very good point. Thanks for bringing it up, and I'll definitely make sure to coordinate with them about that. Thanks for bringing it up. Stephen.
Is this condensate water from the ERV, or is this from the? Okay.
Yep, that's right.
Thanks.
Yep. And then related to the other divisions, landscape has a lot of value engineering going on. I wanted to bring up a plan here that kind of highlighted some of the strategies that we're incorporating. We're deleting this sidewalk. This has already been included in pricing, but I just wanted to highlight with this image so that patrons who park here are going to be able to circulate on the actual driveway. And this is code approved, so that there's no problem there. We don't need this additional parking stall. So we're looking to revise the turnaround here to meet our neighbor offset setback requirements, and that helps save on the retaining wall and barrier. We're also looking at revising what our curb condition can be here. We are looking to use bituminous paving in these green zones for paving. I also wanted to mention that our landscape architect is investigating a better unit cost for pavers. So our cost estimator takes a medium line for cost of materials, and our landscape architect feels there's room there for improvement. So they'll look to specify a paver that is more cost effective. They'd also like to have input on engraving and the donation strategies that you guys might be investigating. So we'll keep an open line of communication with you and our landscape architects about how these engraved pavings might work. They're also deleting benches. So again, everybody's scrutinizing, cost savings as we move through CD. So just wanted to bring your attention to that again. Moving on to the plan, just quickly highlighting architecturally, we are also looking at, additional cost saving measures, not just floor treatments, which we've already are looking at. By code, we are actually able to delete the door, this second egress door to the meeting room, which is going to simplify the condensing unit refrigerant line entry into the building. The Library of Things millwork is a high spec finish millwork piece that we are also strategizing to look at saving money, still have the same function, but finish more cost effectively. Similarly, the storage closet for the staff workroom in the DD set was a high spec millwork piece. We can look at alternatives for that. And again, we're investigating the acoustic wall treatments along this devising wall. Moving on, I wanted to bring up the roof insulation. So We did an add alt. Oh, before I move on, Penny, I see your hand is raised.
Yes, can you go back to the last slide?
Sure.
Have bathrooms moved?
They have not in this plan, but
Okay.
I do have a slide at the end of the presentation that are going to discuss the bathrooms as it relates to code.
Okay, I guess for some reason I thought they were next to the community room in previous drawings. Did I misremember that?
There were iterations where we had them in other locations, that's right. But this is definitely the location that we held for DD. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Just to orientate you again for after hours, we have an after hours security screen here. So we want to make sure we include the restrooms with the meeting room and the spill out space to make sure that after hours functionality works, right? And restrooms are available for that. So I wanted to bring up, so for the DD cost estimate, we did a add alt for the roof insulation. We wanted to evaluate whether we would see energy savings if we increased our roof insulation to 7 inches from the normal 5-inch roof insulation thickness. Our mechanical engineers did an energy evaluation, and that is to say that the energy cost savings per annum is negligible for the cost increase to install 7-inch insulation. And so funnily enough here, it actually does not really benefit the project to go with thicker insulation. So we have also photovoltaic PV panels, which are producing energy. We're also doing an evaluation of energy consumption to make sure we meet net zero, and we do that as well. So we recommend that we stick with 5-inch insulation and really kind of see cost savings there when compared to the 7-inch. There was a question from MBLC as to the evaluation of the EUI. The EUI is a calculation to show efficiency of building energy use. And we think our engineers are calculating a certain schedule of library opening that might be skewing these numbers. So I just wanted to bring that up because there was a specific question from MBLC. We will continue to investigate that, and Marianne will coordinate with you about projected opening hours for the library, because the building runs at different settings when you're in, have patron visitation and when you're closed. So moving on, we are also looking at simplifying the roof detailing in a few places. The roof eave being one. So initially we had a metal standing seam roof that then transitioned down to a flat seam metal roof at the roof eave. The drawing you're looking at here has revised the section detail of the roof at the exterior wall down to 5 inches. This red line is the profile that it was previously. And we are now proposing that we extend the 5-inch rigid insulation, simplify this detail as far as the flashing interaction at these transitions, and delete the flat seam metal roof. We extend the standing seam metal roof, and again, our metal flashing at the edge here is simplified. We've reviewed this with our cost estimator, and we think there would be marginal savings here You know, you're kind of buying more rigid insulation, but simplifying the installation. You're simplifying flashing. So it's not quite an apples to apples transition. If anything, you would see some savings here, but we think that simplifying this makes sense. If we go with a 5-inch insulation, then this simplifies that detail. Yes, Dale.
So I'm curious why the double blocking on top of the wall. It creates an obstacle for getting the tight fit on the insulator. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
What does that do?
Yeah, sure. It's a good question. It's a requirement from our structural engineer. So it's additional cord blocking that they call it. It's kind of it helps support and make the roof rigid. So it's kind of like enforces the diaphragm of the roof plane. So that's kind of my dumbed down version of how I understand that to work. We definitely need this, and this is a common detail that we've had to implicate on tongue and groove wood deck roof with glulam girders. So that's the explanation for that there. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So this is the common roof eave section here. Moving on, I wanted to highlight the upturned roof at the entry canopy and teens room. Previously, we had a cricketed condition here at the upturned roof so that the roof could drain north and south. And we had reduced the thickness of insulation here, which was not adequate for teens. So this red line shows where we had what we had previously, and we have now continued that 5-inch insulation down into the valley of the cricket and extended it all the way to the exterior. So we now, for an exterior envelope insulation condition, we continue what is required. So we have reviewed this with our roofing consultant who we're working with, Garland. And I have some details that I'll go over. Again, this is kind of a blow up of that same section on the same page, showing here that we have continuous 5-inch insulation. This cricket line, this is the high point that would be at the midpoint of that upturned roof. I can explain that in a roof plan. And then, behind it and to the foreground, that cricket then lowers in elevation so that it can drain on both ends. I might actually skip straight to that roof plan here. So here you see a roof plan. This is the upturned entry roof porch condition here. So the intent here is that you have the upturned roof extents. This kind of diamond triangulation and this ridge line, this is the high point. And from here, the water will drain to this downspout and then again to the south. And what I wanted to do, I have coordinated with Garland about this condition, and we've come up with a solution so that we can detail the transition between the standing seam roof and this PVC roof to simplify replacement if required. So I wanted to show you some developments that we've been working on. So here you see multiple sections, roof sections, that relate to this portion of the roof. So we have the PV and the snow guard. Standing seam roof transitions to the PVC roof, and then we have the edge condition at the eave here. So again, we take those details, we lay them out on a sheet like this, and this would be a part of the CD construction drawings. This is a common eave detail. We've looked at that previously. what I wanted to focus on was this transition here. So this is at the exterior envelope. And you would have a standing seam roof that transitions to a flashing detail that allows us to pull the PVC membrane out from underneath the standing seam roof. So by doing this, we have two warranty timelines. The standing seam metal roof can be a 40-year warranty, and the PVC can be 30. If there was ever an issue with the PVC, it can be replaced independent of the standing seam roof, thus not affecting your PV or the metal seam roof, right? So you could effectively replace this independent of that other roof. Previously, we had detailed it so that it would slip in underneath that. And if you had to replace the PVC, you would have to lift the standing seam roof. So we think this is an effective solution to separate the two materials. It's a relatively simple detail. And Garland have reviewed this and taken no issue with this. So I just wanted to include that because there were questions about the maintenance about these two materials. Stephen, I see your hands up.
Right. So if you want to make that detail a little bit larger again.
Yeah.
All right. So your cursor, if you go down the slope
Mm-hmm.
a little bit, okay, right there, it looks like a nail going in. And then just to the right of that, there's another nail. So the nail to the right is for the TPO, correct?
That's right.
All right. So then the nail to the left, which is under that flashing transition.
Yep.
How does that's holding another piece of flashing material?
Yes. So this is a clip system. And so this assembly is a cleat that this piece of flashing attaches to.
So I'm just not understanding how you initially attach the nail on the left to the,
this one here.
Yeah, because it's under that flashing. And that's also nailed up under the standing seam, correct?
Yes, that's right. Yep. So this cleat gets fastened on first. And so that, as I understand it, can clip. So this piece clips onto this and can be unclipped from that without having to remove this.
I don't fully understand how that can be done. But
I think I'm just wondering whether I can do a sequencing explanation for you that might be difficult to just relate to here.
Yeah, maybe
I should follow up with you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Dale. I see your hand is up.
Yeah,
as
so
well.
I mean, I'm following what you're doing, and Stephen, it's a two-step process where you nail the cleat down and then you clip this thing on over it and then nail that down and then bring the upper roof over that. So it's a step process. But the thing is it seemed to me that the last time I know, when Jeff finally signed on to approving this, it was based on a lot of overlap of membrane roofing, up underneath the steel panels. And I see this as, a very nice, quick click system. But boy, I wonder if it can really handle the job. And, based on this detail alone, I mean, I understand that Garland's going to assume the responsibility, but it could be a real problem in the meantime. I think you understand what I'm saying, that, there isn't a lot of overlap here in this setup. And, if there's any area where everything is not, well, of course it has to be click tight, but you don't really know these things until the first snow or the first real freeze up. So that it sort of concerns me a bit, that this is not the same system that we approved before when we said that this was okay.
That's true. It is a variation to that. I think the intent, and as I understand your question, it's about integrity of this detail. The motivation here was about allowing the TPO to be repaired or reinstalled completely independent of the metal roof, so that you do not complicate the metal roof or PV or the PV. Garland already owned the full warranty of the previous detail. So if the PVC ever had to be replaced in the previous detail, it would require metal. The metal roof would also need to be partially removed, implicating PV as well, right? So, but Garland owned the full system in their warranty. And I believe we brought it up at the last meeting. I do have warranties from Garland, so I'll share that with you so that you can scrutinize what the actual documentation stipulates. But yes, Dale, this is a variation of the previous detail. So the previous detail really had that PVC coming all the way up underneath. And this is looking at...
It's also worth mentioning that while we're working this out with Garland, our plan is to get it to a point where, we've got details that we've worked through with Garland that work from their standpoint, work within the context of their warranty, and then hire Simpson Gumpertz Hager, who's an exterior envelope consultant that we work with a lot, to review some of these details, to do a kind of peer review and give us their take on them, and if there are any modifications that they would make. We do not have them engaged yet on this project, but I think this is one area where we would want to get their expertise, so that we were planning to get these details to a certain point and then have them do a peer review.
Thank you.
So yeah, we continue to develop this, and to Matt's point, hopefully with peer review for exterior envelope consultants specific to this area, that could help alleviate some of the concerns here. So that's what I had for roof and roof insulation. I did want to also bring up life cycle cost analysis. So this is a single sheet document really in response to the MBLC. The MBLC has requested this information specific to the exterior envelope. So let me just explain the layout of this. We have an upper portion that analyzes the siding of the building, and then the lower portion is for the roof. So if I zoom in here a little bit, what we're looking at on the left are the different materials for the exterior siding, their warranty, and then the cost to install is year one. And then this timeline goes all the way up to 100 years. That was our evaluation timeframe, was over the period, over the 100-year timeframe. And then the final cost is the total life cycle cost. So from year one, this is the cost to install. Then at these intervals, I'm calculating the warranty period as the time that material needs to be replaced. Now, the caveat is I think you can get longer performance on certain materials, but I needed to use the warranty is kind of a life cycle evaluation. The slate siding actually is a 100-year product. So this is not correct here, this 50-year. We have sourced Vermont slate siding on a few projects now, and the slate is a 100-year project, tried and true. So along the time of 100 years, you have a $90,000 installation that gets you your life cycle cost there. AYC is Alaskan yellow cedar. We're looking at shingles here, full replacement or a full swap for the slate. So this would be full building at $104,000. It's a 25-year product. So at every 25-year interval, you're looking at a new installation. These numbers have incorporated escalation of 2.5%. So that's a very conservative escalation number, but I wanted to hold something. I think escalation could very well be much greater than that. We've seen that, thanks to COVID, obviously, but so it was definitely a very conservative number here, just to hold something over the period of 100 years. So from installation of 100,000, you're looking at 500,000 over the period of 100 years because you've had to reinstall 3 more times. Hardy board or hardy plank is a 30 year, so you get a better warranty there. So you're reinstalling every 30 years. So the installation for hardy board would be full building at 122,000. So with multiple installations, you're looking at 620. So I've also included here Alaskan yellow cedar siding, which we are currently holding for the entry and the adults notch, right? There's a detail on the west and east of the building where we have wood siding. So that's not full building, right? That's less square feet of material. So it's a cheaper install. For 25 years, every 25-year interval, you need to reinstall that. So 45,000 initially. By the end of 100 years, you're looking at 220. I wanted to include Akoya. I know the committee have released us to use Alaskan yellow cedar siding instead of Akoya. We used Akoya for DD. It's a 50-year product. I just wanted to put it in here just to show, apples to apples comparison against Alaskan yellow cedar. 52,000 initially, so more expensive initially, but a little cheaper, right? You do see some savings here over 100 years. So this here is a summation of this information for option 1, and this is what we've priced for DD, was slate shingles and an Alaskan yellow cedar boards. These are the 2 exterior material, the siding materials that we're using. It's like 3/4 slate, right? And about 1/4 of the wood. Over 100 years, you're looking at a combined cost of about $300,000. When compared to Alaskan yellow cedar shingles and boards, for the whole building, you're looking at about $700,000. Hardy plank, so complete, hardy plank everywhere for both what we have for wood and slate as far as area. You're looking at about 620. So these costs also include painting. So the hardy board at every new installation gets 2 coats of paint. Similarly, the Alaskan yellow cedar boards gets like a protective coating, which we would do at the installation, and we had priced as such. So I think as far as the siding, the fact that we are not reinstalling slate really helps our cause here. And it's very resistive to the kind of the wetlands conditions as well, right? With mold and long-term maintenance, it really has no maintenance. So that's siding. I'm happy to go to roofing next. So with roofing, we have metal seam roof, which is a 40-year warranty product. At initial installation, it's $185,000. Every 40 years, you'd have to reinstall. These numbers, so this initial buy-in cost does not include PV, photovoltaics. But the PV needs to be removed every time you reinstall. That cost is then included at these, additional replacement intervals. So at 40 years, it's 400, with escalation, again, kind of a very conservative escalation. We're seeing a much greater cost here for the replacement because you've got to take down PV and reinstall them. Again, 500 at 80 years. So you're looking at about $1 million for the metal seam roof over 100 years. Asphalt shingles. It's a cheaper day one installation cost, but it only has a 30-year warranty. And so it requires one additional replacement. The same PV dismantling and reinstallation is included here. And you're looking at, 1.7 million. So what hurts asphalt shingles is the fact that the PV has to come down and go up again. The other caveat, as we've mentioned before, is that it's a different assembly. It's a different sub-assembly for mounting the photovoltaic panels, where you need to actually penetrate the roofing. And so we feel that this whole mounting assembly for asphalt shingles it's secondary to what we can do with a metal seam roof, because we have a standing seam. The attachment is a clip system. It has no penetrating component to the assembly. I did also want to include PVC roof. It's a much smaller area. You're only looking at $11,000 for that portion of the roof. It has a 30-year warranty, doesn't involve PV. You're just seeing escalation cost, again, at 2.5. So you're looking at $50,000 plus under 60 over 100 years. So that was our, life cycle cost for the envelope in response to the MBLC, request for this information. We think that, our recommendations for slate and cedar, make sense here just by virtue of, cost savings. I think also minimal maintenance, and then metal standing seam roof as well, simplifying the assembly, and, fairly significant savings against a secondary kind of assembly construction with the shingles. I'm happy to move on. Again, you will get this document when I send it to you, so you can review and feel free to reach out with it to us about any kind of comments or responses. Marianne, I see your hands up.
Hi, Dominic. I just wanted to ask if you have sent this particular document to the MBLC. I don't see them here today.
I have not. So I would like to hear their response to this too, their critique of the information if they want to see anything else.
Right. So if you could, send it to them and include me, just this slide, so they don't have to sort through everything. I'm sure they'd appreciate seeing it. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Will do.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And then the next and last thing I wanted to mention is that The plumbing code, which I mentioned at the last meeting, has been revised. Late December last year, the Massachusetts Plumbing Code, Division 10, has been revised such that it now requires additional bathroom fixtures for occupancy loads. We've been very busy with our plumbing engineer and code consultants to better understand the implications on our project. And what we've gathered from that is that if we were to meet the code as it stands now, we would need to introduce an additional toilet and sink for the women's restroom. So previously we had two gender neutral restrooms, single occupancy use, that was to facilitate patron and staff. And now as we understand it, we need to increase the women's restroom to include an additional stall and an additional sink. The other thing we'd need to include now is a floor drain, which we are negotiating with Heritage, the septic designer, to see if that needs to go to septic or can go to the tight tank that we have. So our code consultant has recommended two avenues. One is we meet the code, and the second is we meet with the local plumbing inspector and look for relief. Our code consultant feels that this is definitely, our situation warrants that. And they think it's worth pursuing. So we are currently coordinating, and we want to reach out to the plumbing inspector, Shutesbury plumbing inspector, and ask for their relief. We're going to make a case of hardship as it relates to our need to stay within the building footprint and the strain on all of our utilities. And, if our building needs to increase, that would be, a great hardship on the project. We don't want to activate sprinklers and everything that's associated with that. A transfer switch room, we'd need a generator, let alone, the strain on all the infrastructure for all of this. So we think it's worth pursuing that. We feel if the local plumbing inspector kicks it to state, then we would probably drop our attempt at looking for a variance, because our schedule would not allow for that. So we're looking to meet with a local plumbing inspector and see how that goes. At the same time, we're also investigating what it would take to include an additional stall. So here you see high-level schematic. There is some room in one of these restrooms that we can pinch a little smaller and, potentially allow this restroom to grow and become the women's and take this area that is currently covered by the entry porch. But this is not fully vetted yet with our code consultant, so we're playing both avenues at this point. Yes, Marianne.
And so would the restrooms have to be called men's and women's?
Yes.
So the new plumbing code is requiring gender
neutral.
name.
Oh,
Well,
gendered.
I
Only
mean,
by
men's and women's, I wouldn't call either of those gender neutral.
No, they're not. Sorry, I was preemptive
Okay.
there.
Okay.
So you mean the code requires gendered restrooms?
Right.
Only by virtue of their requirement that the women's fixtures are doubled. The requirement for occupancy is basically doubled.
The requirement across the board has doubled. The issue is that the calculation has to be done based on gender. That's not to say that the bathrooms have to be designated by gender, unless the only way to accommodate the fixture count is to have a multi-stall bathroom. If you have a multi-stall bathroom, it has to be a designated sex. You can't have a multi-stall gender neutral bathroom. So in this case, we think that it's going to be, if this is feasible, adding a second stall and sink, it's more feasible that we do that in the same bathroom than create another single occupancy bathroom. That'll take more room than having a 2-stall gendered bathroom. And so if we're going to designate this as the women's room, then we have to designate the other one as the men's room to satisfy the code, I believe.
That's correct. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not initially predicated on it now needs to be gendered.
So
It's
the ADA
basically
stall will be in the women's room?
well,
both men's and women's.
So the men's, these single use are ADA, they meet ADA requirements just by their layout, right? So there's a 5-foot turning radius, both originally met ADA requirements. Every restroom, whether they're single or multi-stall, need to provide at least one toilet that is ADA accessible. So that's where, now that the plumbing code has doubled their fixture count requirements, our occupancy is below 100, and that cutoff allows 1 fixture per 100 for men's and a requirement for 2 for women's. And if we are to meet that requirement, as Matt said before, I think if we had all the space in the world, it would be, we like the flexibility of non-gendered. It would be great to have 3 non-gendered. Then we meet the requirement, right? 2 of them can be considered for women's. Basically, we need to provide 3 toilets. That's it.
And so when are you planning to reach out to the plumbing inspector?
As soon as possible.
Okay.
So there's been a lot of back and forth and coordination between us and our consultants. And I need to make one more port of call with our code consultant to really tighten up our proposal. And then I would like to engage the plumbing inspector.
Right. I mean, I think the biggest concern for me is how this is going to impact transgender and non-binary people. And I am just heartsick thinking about this. So I'm really anxious to hear what the plumbing inspector says. And when I get back, I'm going to reach out to our local legislators if we haven't had a reasonable resolution. Thanks for investigating this. And I'm just going to keep my fingers crossed. I mean, we've just got such a tight space. And I know so I'm going to stop talking.
No, thank you, Marianne. I think that's a very good point, and I want to use that in our argument that this project definitely cannot cater to 3 non-gendered restrooms, and we should stick to the 2 non-gendered so that we meet that function for the community. And this code, what has really struck our office and everybody in Massachusetts is that there is no leniency period. Normally with new code requirements, you are given some sort of 12-month grace period. And we are the exact kind of project where this is, hardest hit. We're in CDs, we have, limited time, and it's hit a bunch of our projects that are even further in CDs. And every design firm or project, let's say, that is trying to negotiate this and scramble. So we'll see what comes of our meeting with the plumbing inspector, and I'll keep you in the loop. I'll reach out if I need anything else.
So where you have the ADA stall and the new stall, those are bump outs of the building.
That's correct.
So what do we have? I don't have it on the top of my head, what we have for wiggle room between what we have now and the 5,000 square foot.
So the attempt for this layout is to still stay within our roof footprint.
Okay. Okay.
And so we're trying to massage a lot of things here.
Okay.
The roof footprint is the dotted line.
Right. Right. Okay.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Sorry, Elaine, I should have explained that. We're trying to stay within this teens room. You know, we currently have a pop out, and it's a nice accentuation of this program. We really don't like this architecturally from the entry experience, right? We're really confined, or we're blocking the view to entry by doing this too, right? I don't think it harms the walking, the approach from parking lot. You still see this, but this is a tough one for everybody. But funnily enough, I think, Marianne, your argument to meet all community requirements and needs, right? This one does not, you know, it's against that, and so, you know, we'll see what we can get out of the building inspector. So,
okay.
So quick update on that. There's also we're looking to meet, stepping away from this item. You know, lastly, just to round out our presentation, is we're looking to meet with the different town agencies. We're setting up a meeting with National Grid, and then we'll also coordinate with you, Elaine, and Marianne, and CMS as well, to engage all the departments, fire, police, etc. So
okay,
we'll continue that effort.
Can I ask one more question before we leave this bathroom issue? What does this do to anything to our septic system? And
it's a good question. Yeah, unsure. We know we need to include an additional floor drain, and I think that is, you know, does that tie into septic or the tight tank? And then the question to an additional sink and bathroom would obviously have to go to the septic system. What we still need clarification on is the septic capacity taken. Does it actually, is that calculated by occupancy or by fixtures? My sense is it's occupancy. So our occupancy hasn't changed.
okay.
Therefore, we are hoping, we still need confirmation on that the septic design does not need to increase.
Okay.
That's kind of the logic, right? It's the same amount of people.
Sure.
They just have an additional fixture to use. Doesn't mean that it'll get used more because your patron count is not changing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Marianne?
I'm 100% confident that the septic design is based on occupancy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But okay.
That was it for us. Schedule is still the same. No changes there. We continue to meet with our consultants regularly. We're really aiming for the 75% cost estimate, which is mid-March. And then the 100% CDs is kind of mid to late April.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's everything I had today. Feel free to reach out with any questions before our next meeting. I'm not sure when that might be. I'm not sure, Elaine, if OEA might be relieved. If there are any other agenda items that you'd like to cover with us.
No, I think that's it.
We have a design subcommittee meeting in a couple of weeks. When's the next full committee meeting?
I was just looking for that. The next full committee meeting is February 6th. It's 2 weeks from this past Tuesday.
Okay. And our next design subcommittee meeting is February 7th. So probably OEA wouldn't have anything new or very much new for that February 6th meeting.
So do you want to postpone it to the next week? The 13th?
Maybe we could do that. And then unless you think you'll have answers to this plumbing question.
Potentially, but I think as soon as I do, I would communicate that.
Okay.
Either way, I don't know if that really.
Okay.
Okay, we might have some issue. We might have some answers on the well also. So I think I'd like to keep it with the 6th.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dale?
And we don't need them for the well. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my question about the well, where we are and all of that.
Okay,
So.
that's going to be the next topic. So yes, you are you're released to go. You're a minute early.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much, Elaine, and
Thank you.
committee. I appreciate you working with us today.
That's great. And if you send those documents, that'll be great.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thanks again, everybody.
Thank you, Matt.
Marianne, do you want to? Are you co-host? I just want to make sure if I sign off that I'm not closing the whole committee.
Yeah. No, we're all fine.
Yeah,
we're all fine.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bye. Phew. Okay. Let's go back to our unless anybody has any other questions, shall we go back to our agenda as we had it? Let's review and vote on the minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes from, let's go back to, you sent us September 19th.
September 19th. It was the meeting just before we had the public forum.
Yes.
And I think we should have approved those at the public forum meeting we had, and we were just too busy to do that.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of September 19th as corrected?
So moved.
Was that Marianne?
Yes, that was Marianne.
Do I hear a
Dale
second?
seconds.
Dale seconded. Any changes, corrections, additions? I had a few typos that I picked up and sent to you, Penny.
I incorporated those, and I incorporated Stephen's comments as well.
Okay. Roll call vote. Antonellis.
Antonellis, aye.
Delmas.
Delmas, aye.
Foster.
Foster, aye.
Poole.
Poole, aye.
Jakes.
Jakes, aye.
Paleo, aye. Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of January 4th?
I move that we approve the minutes from January 4th as corrected.
And that was Stephen.
Dale seconds.
Dale seconded. Okay. And I sent one correction, I think, on that one too.
I got that, and Stephen's again.
Okay. Antonellis.
Antonellis, aye.
Delmas, aye.
Foster, aye.
Poole, aye.
Jakes, aye.
And Paleo, aye. Okay. That is completed. An update on the NOI and the Conservation Commission meeting. Do we have anything there?
Well, you know, we had the opening of the public hearing earlier in January. Several questions were asked by the commission and by members of the public. And all the people involved in answering all of those questions are supplying that information to April Jurowski at Fuss and O'Neill. And she has just about completed a response, so that will be sent out soon. And the public hearing has been continued to the second Thursday in February.
Yes.
So hope all of you are there to listen in when that happens. Anything else, Marianne?
No, I just have one question. Penny, is there a chance that during that public hearing, the library building committee would be called upon to make a decision? And does it make sense for the library building committee to have a posted meeting at the same time as the hearing, so that if there were a decision to make, it could be made?
I'm struggling to think of how that might happen. Can you give me?
Well, say if they said, we'll approve this as long as you're willing to put in a split rail fence. Like, is that something well, I mean, the thing is, they're going to issue their order of conditions.
Yeah, I think they will issue their order of conditions.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's unfortunate that the timing of the next building committee meeting is just before the Conservation Commission reopening of the hearing. So, I mean, I know we want to try and move forward on the well, but it may require
it might require an extra meeting.
Yep.
Right. So anyway, I mean, whatever they issue as their order of conditions is what we're going to do.
Right.
I
believe so. Right. I mean, I think there is some possibility for discussion, but not much.
Okay.
I don't know, the commission is different now that Miriam is no longer chair. It used to be that many of these sort of conditions had some discussion component with the applicant, and sometimes things were adjusted a little bit. I don't know if that will continue to happen or not.
Okay.
So then it does seem to me that it makes sense for the library building committee to be in an actual meeting, a posted meeting, so that in the event that discussion does need to happen, if discussion could, help expedite the process. And then if no discussion happens, we just adjourn the meeting and the minutes say, like the committee met and watched the hearing.
Does
true.
That
make sense?
It makes sense because
I don't know. I mean, I've never seen a situation like that before. So,
okay.
But on the other hand, to the best of my knowledge, there hasn't been a project before the commission in all the years I've known the commission where there was a committee that had to weigh in on things like this. So it's new territory.
I think what Marianne is not saying that they have to weigh in is that we had to make a decision, and deciding to accept or do whatever the commission has said we have to do, or that we would like to negotiate something with.
I don't think it works quite like that, though. I don't think you negotiate. I mean, I think you can have an informal discussion. And I think if well, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say about that. It's kind of.
So I just want to kind of have all our bases covered, because if we're all there and we and I don't think they're going to ask us whether we agree with the conditions. I guess I just wanted to ask, and Penny, it seems like you don't think we need to have that we'll need to be making any decisions that night.
I'm not sure. On the other hand, I certainly encourage the building committee to be there. And if we have a quorum of members there, it needs to be posted as one of our meetings. So that might be.
Well, no, it only needs to be posted as a meeting if like a quorum of our members can go to any other public meeting. It only needs to be posted if we're going to conduct business. And so
I don't think that's correct. I think if you have a quorum of your committee at another meeting, you're required to post it. We should check that.
No,
that's not true.
No,
that's not true. No, as long as you do not deliberate between the two, between any members.
Right.
So I couldn't ask a question and Mary Ann say something in response to my question, but we could all be there and we could all ask questions independently of the committee as long as we don't consult with each other.
Right.
Brad, you have your hand up.
If some issue came up that we felt like we needed to discuss and approve, wouldn't we need to list that as an agenda item in advance? Aren't we sort of in a pickle?
It would be unanticipated business.
Okay.
Based on the Conservation Commission request or whatever. I mean, I guess it doesn't hurt for us to post it as a meeting. So I think I would, just to be sure that we don't we can talk to each other if we need to and we don't waste time.
Right.
I will post that as a concurrent meeting.
Okay.
And the date of that again?
February.
The second Thursday in February.
February 15th.
No, it's the 8th.
No, the 8th. I'm sorry. The 8th. Yep, February 15th.
I don't know what time. I would have to go. I don't know that. When I looked the last time, they hadn't posted their agenda and I can't remember the time.
I'll look. February. They have not posted their meeting as far as I see. No, they have not posted yet.
But February the 8th.
February the 8th, yes.
Yeah.
And I would guess 7 o'clock, but
yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do that as soon as it's available.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So let's see. Update on the well drilling quotes. Let's see. Yesterday, Penny, Brad, and I went out with Quabbin drillers, and oh gosh, I've forgotten his name. Do either of you two remember?
No.
I think it was Dick. Anyway, we went out with him. We gave him our documents. I sent things to Scott, who is in charge at Quabbin, and they were going to get back to us. We are getting in touch with Steve Sullivan to discuss the road and how well we can get those heavy equipment into the well site. They were saying that they would prefer to do it when it's frozen. As far as Steve got back to me, and unfortunately we crossed paths and didn't actually talk, but he told me that from what I could hear from what he told me, the road, if we go parallel to the east boundary of the road of the property, that portion of the interior road from the horseshoe is well graveled and everything, and so that portion is in good shape. It was when they turned the corner to go west that he didn't answer that question, because I didn't get a chance to ask it specifically. So I have him, we're playing phone tag right now, and maybe he caught you, Brad, at 11. I told him that you were going to be there. So Brad was there today with Cushing. And take it away, Brad.
So just before I get to Cushing, to follow up with Steve walked over while we were there. Cushing, Ezra, who is a Cushing, he's grandson of the original Cushing. And Steve talked, Ezra was asking rather specific questions about what Steve could do, and Steve said, yep, that works fine. It had to do with the kind of road prep extra surface that might be put on, and Steve said that unlike many places, the topsoil had all been removed and sold. I hadn't realized that in a lot of that section. So it's a little bit of organic matter on top of dirt and gravel. It sounded like that was all Steve and Ezra understood each other, and that there was no trouble with that. I felt like Steve was recommending that Ezra come in on the western entrance of the circular drive and continue straight back, because that was a road that Steve has already prepped for something else. And then, yes, once you get to the lateral Woods Road, no particular work has been done on that. So that was Steve. Ezra, I took him to the site, and one of the things he reminded me of, we did this with our well. So there's where the drilling happens, beyond that, there needs to be a roughly 6 by 6 foot pit dug to hold the water that's coming out of the well. And so we have the limit of work, which I believe is also a particular setback, 100-foot setback to the wetlands there. And in front of that would be the pit, and in front of that would be the well. Just to give you a sense of the spacing. The well can't go right up to the limit of work because the pit has to go in there too. Some trees have to come down. Both of the drilling people said the road wasn't wide enough for drilling rigs.
Well, I think they said it was wide enough. There were a few of them that were overhanging, and those two right at the corner definitely had to come out.
Yep. And I have questions, but that, to me, that sort of sums up Ezra. Ezra asked more than the fellow who came yesterday, Ben Quabbin.
And I have Connecticut Valley artesian wells out of East Longmeadow, who are very excited and very interested in the project, and I have sent them all of the information, and they're supposedly going to get back to me as to when they will come up and take a look at it. Skillings was not interested. They said it was too far away.
I have some questions. Is this okay time to ask them?
Sure.
Whomever we hire drills the well, and sets up the flow rate testing, the 24-hour flow rate. That's the time we need to grab the water for the water test, the quality test. But it wasn't clear who did that testing. Is that the job of the well people, Mary Ann?
So Fuss and O'Neill is going to do the sampling. And so we would coordinate with them because they want to ensure that, that the samples are taken appropriately and packaged appropriately and shipped appropriately to the lab that will do the testing.
Okay.
So we would coordinate that with them, and they would be on site to do the sampling at the appropriate time.
Right. That was a question of Ezra's, and I didn't know the answer. Steve wasn't clear that they necessarily would be the people to do all the road prep and tree clearing. He didn't know whether there were other tree clearing people being brought in for part of the project. I don't know that we need to know that now, but is there a sense of that? Would we go to Steve in the highway department to at least clear for the well? Okay.
Yes.
And then the final thing was something I read. I think this was in a response from Neil to correspondence that was going back, and it was a intended installation before March 1st. Do we have to wait for permits or approvals or something to happen first? The NOI, are there scheduling things?
So when we've looked at the location of the well, Fuss and O'Neill thought that the well was outside of the 100-foot buffer zone.
Yep.
So that would, so that we wouldn't need to coordinate with conservation about that. I guess, Penny, I would ask you to evaluate whether or not any sort of road remediation or tree clearing in order for them to access the well location impacts the buffer zone.
I will do that. I mean, I know when we did our tree counting in preparation for the NOI, we included the small number of trees in the pathway to the well as part of that. So we're set on that.
Okay.
I would just, once an access route is confirmed, that would be helpful to know.
I think the best way to do that is with Steve. Given the conversation I had with him today, I wasn't in that conversation for that purpose, but he seemed to be very knowledgeable about how the best way for them to get in.
I'm sure it does. And we'll talk with him. I will get out the wetland map. I will do all those things in the next few days.
And it's all state, so that's very helpful. Thank you.
Although I will, just as a quick aside, it is confusing at this point. There are so many stakes on the site. There are limit of work site stakes, there are wetland stakes, there are 100-foot buffer zone stakes.
There's lots of stakes.
And the stakes we had a hard time finding yesterday were the building outline stakes.
And well, some of them were in the trees.
Yes, but I don't think we found all of them. And it would be, I think, helpful to find all of those and mark them with a very different color. Because right now, there's a lot of pink and orange, and on quick look, it's hard to see what's what.
I agree.
I found a new one today, which was a building limit stake. And it was much farther, what direction is that? Much farther south than I had pictured in my head. I looked at the drawing and it made perfect sense.
That's the old location of the building too, right?
And the
Mary?
new location of the building has not been staked
Not
out.
Oh,
So,
okay. Okay.
and, but you know, and at some point we're going to need the new location of the building staked out. You know, and that'll mean bringing back the survey guys. Let's ask Dominic about that, and at our next meeting we can make a decision about that. Okay.
Okay.
So Mary Ann and Elaine and Brad, I guess Elaine had information stating the distance from the well location to the building location. Is that the correct distance, or is that the old building location?
No, that's the correct distance.
That's to the new further north location.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, so the paper that we were looking at yesterday and looking all over for the scale, it actually was on there. Very small print. So it was a half an inch equals 40 feet.
But that's a half an inch based on the original drawing size. I'm not sure that was an 8.5 by 11.
There's a scale on there, right?
Yes, and I measured on the scale, using the scale.
That's why it's so important to always have a scale on those documents.
Yep.
So I have one more question. Can I put that in now? Do we need to talk to Board of Health? I assume that they need to know about any well going in.
So actually DEP is permitting this well. And Fuss and O'Neill is coordinating all of that. But we're talking to Board of Health about the septic system.
And they know about the well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Committee liaison reports. Any committee? Penny, do you have any?
Well, you know, the Friends are always scheming about more ways to make more money so we can pay for this. There will be another big push for a banner library giving day in April. So, you know, look for that down the line. There's an election day bake sale being organized. Anything else, Mary Ann, I think?
At the election day bake sale, the Friends will also have their Shutesbury apparel, including restocking of the inventory. So there'll be more sizes and colors, and a selection of long sleeve t-shirts that we haven't had in a while. So that'll be nice.
Have you heard from Florence Bank?
You don't hear from Florence Bank until the night of the awards ceremony. So they send out an invitation to the awards ceremony usually in the middle of February or the very beginning of March, and then that ceremony is usually in the middle of May. And you don't know anything until you go to that awards ceremony. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Brad, is there anything from the trustees?
No, we've talked about this. Life is going on.
You know anything more about, oh gosh, I'm not going to be able to describe this process well. The effort to transfer the small trust to the library fund?
We haven't gotten any response to that so far.
Just
yeah.
It's in the state now, right? It's at the state level?
It's right. Yes. Yeah. So
okay. Okay, so Mary Ann, speaking of liaisons and knowing that the committees form and stuff, if you need help with talking to our legislators, let me know. I will be
Thank you.
glad to come with you.
Thank you.
Be a part of that.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, I don't even want to think about having gendered bathrooms.
Oh, I hate that.
In
No.
2024, you know, I just don't even want to think about it. So,
But you have to.
yeah.
Dale.
So, just as a back note, the Shutesbury plumbing inspector is an independent guy. He works full-time for somebody else, and he does this on the side. I had tried to urge the select board on several occasions to drop this procedure and join the full Franklin County inspection services, cooperative inspection services. It really, but I understand that due to our loyalty to Mo Gregoire, who's the electrical inspector, that as long as he wants to be the electrical inspector, he's going to be the electrical inspector. So, you know, I don't think this guy is going to go too far out on a limb, is basically what I'm saying. Because, you know, he's very part-time. And doesn't even really have a great reputation. Okay. So we'll just go from there.
Do you have a working relationship with him?
No, really only as a homeowner. He was at my house earlier this year to inspect the new gas installation, so he was right on time and all of that.
You don't, as a builder, you don't have.
No, plumbers deal with those guys, and I just haven't done any plumbing projects in Shutesbury in way too long.
Okay. 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 Well, we'll see how far Dominic gets with that. Okay, is there anything else? Penny, anything?
No.
Okay. So our next meeting is scheduled for February 6th. We'll continue with these well estimates and keep you all informed. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn. Cool. Yeah.
And I will second, Elaine.
Atsinellis, aye.
Downless, aye.
Foster, aye.
Cool, aye.
Jake's aye.
Paleo, aye. Meeting is adjourned as of 1:40. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Everybody.